There we go.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Joey, have you got a torch?
What?
Yeah, oh, you're nearly there.
You're black as
Hold on. My lighting is a little askew.
Jimmy, where are you dialing in from?
me?
Yeah.
Chicago.
Oh, okay. All right. And Joe, you're where?
Boston.
Boston. I would have never known by your accent that you were in Boston.
No, I'm from New York. I got a New York accent.
Oh, okay. Well, I almost blew that.
If I was from Boston, I would say Boston.
Boston, yeah, with the chat.
We make fun of some certain phrases. When I'm in Boston, work with Joe. I lived in Boston 12 years, so we both, and we make. I can't mention them now on the air, but they're funny. They're funny.
Yeah.
They're very Boston accent. Joe does the accent really well.
Yeah, well, I'm around. Yeah, like the way the guys. If you ever seen that movie, The Departed, the way they all talk,
right?
As opposed to Goodfellas.
Yeah, right.
One's in Boston, one's in New York.
Yeah. I used to go to Bill Rick on business in the tech industry years ago, and whenever I'd have meetings with those guys, they'd give me crap over me not having an accent, even though I was born in Tennessee, but I was living in Dallas at the time. So they couldn't figure out where I was from. So
where are you now?
I'm in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Tourism's picking up and the traffic's getting horrible. And Rod Run is in another week or two, and it'll be total gridlock here. So I may go out of town for the weekend.
So. Doogie lives in the Smoky Mountains of Scotland.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. So
and the traffic in his town is just out of control. The freeways are like, it's unbelievable trying to get anywhere up there.
The skyscrapers that keep the sun away. That's why all Scottish people are blue.
Yeah, that's skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers, yeah. So, well, are we expecting anybody? Is Gary or Larry going to join us?
No.
Okay. All right. So it's just us four girls, and we'll go forward. So first of all, I was just curious, how has the post-pandemic world been treating you guys as far as the band goes? Everybody still seems like, it's been a year and a half now since things kind of opened up a little bit. How has that been treating you?
Okay. It's been treating us fine, actually. I consider us pretty lucky. We toured right at the end of the pandemic. I guess it was the end of it, whatever you call it. But people were still wearing masks somewhat, and things hadn't loosened up completely. We went to England and did, 10 dates or something. And we've gotten done. We made records. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's going on over here, but we got stuff to do.
Right.
So it's been okay.
Good deal. I know with a lot of people, they were staying hunkered down no matter what. Everybody's reaction to it seemed to be a bit different,
way different. Yeah.
Even within the state here, where I was at, after the initial shock of it all, people started coming in. We started seeing a lot of people here. I mean, you couldn't see live music anywhere, but people were getting out and about. But you go to Nashville, you go to Chattanooga, Memphis, it would be completely different, a lot more intense there, mildly. But I'm sure you guys are seeing this in your fan base, that they're just thrilled to be able to get out there and enjoy seeing you guys again. What have you been hearing from the fans on that?
During the last European tour we did over the summer, all the shows were well attended. We were out with the girls' school ladies on a package with them, and good attendance even at the shows during the week and stuff. Plenty of people came out. So I think everybody's grateful. The bands are grateful to be playing again. People are grateful to see stuff again. So everyone's kind of glad that chapter's closed as far as the pandemic action goes.
Agreed. So like other great bands, especially, in the rock genres and such, you guys have had a lot of different lineups. How do you feel this current lineup captures the essence of Alcatrazz? I mean, and you guys have had, there's a great legacy in the band, and where you are at now. How do you feel like this current lineup, how does it capture the legacy, and as well as how is it guiding the future of the band as far as its sound, its energy, that type of thing?
I think right now is great because we started with No Parole. That's the direction in a perfect world we should have continued with. But due to circumstances beyond my control anyway, we veered off the track and direction changed a bit. So the last couple of records, we've really been back on track as Doogie's writing lyrics that he should be writing that work. They're just very, very appropriate for what we're doing. They work with the music. Like when you hear one of these songs, it's like it was always, the lyrics were always there. He'd written that years ago kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this is a much more of a continuation of No Parole than the band has ever been. And Joe brings a lot of that to the party by his writing and his playing, because his playing is in that vein. And I've always loved this kind of playing, so this is where we should have been, after No Parole, but we didn't. Right.
Doogie, how does it feel for you being kind of one of the newer members coming in and stepping in some pretty big shoes there and leading the charge, so to speak? How was it in the beginning, and how do you feel about it now?
Well, it began when Alcatrazz were over in Edinburgh playing over here, and I got a phone call saying, Graham's a bit bored. Could you come and take him out and show him the castle and have a coffee and a sandwich somewhere? Make sure it's a vegetarian sandwich. And so I did that. And he was unhappy because he hasn't enjoyed this music for many years. And he said to me, as we wandered around graveyards, actually, and he said that he didn't like doing it when Yngwie was in the band. He didn't like doing it when Steve Vai was in the band, and he's not enjoying it now. And I simply said to him, Graham, you're a legend. You've got one of the most recognizable voices in rock. You're 72 years old. If it's making you that unhappy, why don't you just go and do something that will make you happy? And so he quit the band, and so
there went your guided tour business then, right?
Oh, it was, oh God, I should have taken him to the dungeon and just left him there. But so the next thing I know, about a month after he quit the band, I got a telephone call saying from Alcatrazz and from the management saying, you did this. You're responsible for this. So you have now to come in and do this tour that we've got organized. And I said, well, the pandemic's going to kind of flatten that. If I'm going to do this, why don't we write a new album? And then we can go out rather than just going out as a Graham Bonnet cover band with me singing, And so that's what we did. We sat down for a couple of months and threw about 20 or 25 ideas around, recorded 15 or 16 of them, and picked not the best ones, but the ones that sat together, because we all, and it's the same in this new album. What's it called, Joe?
Take No Prisoners. The new one.
Yeah. Joe always tells me.
Oh. You tell me.
He's What's it called?
Take No Prisoners.
Thanks very much. I've written it down here. And we overwrote for that album as well, but it's the idea of putting the songs together that work together to make the album complete. And the tours have been fantastic. We've been going out there and playing to people, and people who have been fans of the band since the 80s have really taken to this lineup of the band. And we do free meet and greets. We don't charge people money to come and speak to us after the show or before the show. We're always out there, having a little mingle with people and speaking to people. And we've all been getting on fantastically well. and the tunes are good, and the performances are great. So I'm very happy with the way the band's going at the moment.
How about you, Joe?
Well, I've been playing with the band since like 2019 now.
Right.
So I've been at it a while. This is Take No Prisoners is my third Alcatraz record, and the thing really has come a long way since we first started. I mean, granted, it was cool playing with Graham and Mark, our old drummer that played on he played on not the new record, Larry, that's all Larry. It was great playing with him. And Graham's lady friend was on the bass, and that's a whole other story. So I'll leave it at that. let's just say she wasn't on the she wasn't playing with us due to her bass like her bass like virtuosity, but she was Graham's lady friend, so that was cool. I got along with her no problem. But the new lineup is it fits together nice. Feels like a band when we play. Feels like a band when we're together. Everyone gets on very well. And the new version of Alcatraz is, I mean Jimmy and Giles, the manager, when they mentioned they wanted the band to be heavier, meaner, and I'm more of a metal dude. I'd say I'm more of a metal dude than Steve was for that record was Steve's brilliant, of course, and then the Yngwie stuff was like some of my favorite. And they also wanted Alcatraz to be a band that was like not just if you're a fan of Rainbow, if you're a fan of Deep Purple, if you're a fan of Yngwie solo stuff, if you're a fan of Michael Schenker, of course you're going to like us. But we also wanted to cross over. If you're a fan of Priest or Accept or Saxon or Maiden or whatever, you would also like us. So I think we've accomplished that. It's going quite well.
Cool. Well, Jimmy, this next question is probably one that you can answer better than the other guys, but everybody can chip in, of course, is, with this being your sixth studio album and, you have coincidentally 6 live albums under your belt too. How was Take No Prisoners different and the same compared to the other 5 studio albums? As far as putting it together, working on it from soup to nuts.
This felt the most natural. Because we had all worked together, we had toured together. Doogie'd been in the band and written one already, so we knew what he was going to do. And that's the big thing, it's the songs. The playing is one thing, but if the songs aren't there, then you're just spinning your wheels. So we knew how Doogie writes great melodies, great lyrics, so we didn't even worry about it. So Joe writes the majority of most of the stuff, and you could hear it. Joe would write a riff, and I could already hear Doogie singing that. I could imagine Doogie singing. So this record was easy in that respect. That we knew it was. We knew what we were going to have when we got done. It was going to be good, and it was all. There was not going to be any weak songs. There wasn't going to be any like, well, those 3. Well, we need songs, so we'll use them anyway. Wasn't any of that. We worked hard on it, but it was easy to make decisions, basically.
Cool. How about any surprises? Were there any surprises in putting this together?
There was a surprise. The first single was called "Don't Get Mad, Get Even," and we didn't know if it was going to make the album because I had written it and it was called "Batch Crazy." Right, different lyrics, different melody. And Jimmy and the management said, "Oh, you can't. This is a good song, but why have we got it like this? Because nobody will be able to play it on the radio." And so when Giles and Jimmy came over to monitor me doing my vocals here in Edinburgh, I wanted to do the song. And I woke up one morning and 2 days before we were going in to start recording, and I wrote "Don't Get Mad, Get Even." Completely new, completely different from what had gone before. So lurking in the file cabinet over here It's a version of "Don't Get Mad, Get Even" called "Batch Crazy," and we recorded it. And then when we were on tour with the Girl School during the summer, some clever clogs come up with the idea of putting Girl School on as guests doing the backing vocals, and it just opened the whole song up. And while it's a heavy tune, it really has it's very catchy, and what the melody's doing, and the kind of lines that the audiences can get involved in as well. So it worked really well for us, you know. So we're very pleased with that, and we've got a great video out for it as well that you can see on YouTube. That was another clever clogs came up with a cartoon idea, because we were all spread all over the world by this point, and it looks terrific, and it sounds terrific.
Maybe the original can be a bonus track, because I think it'd be a great title song for some exes of mine. So, but that's the whole nother story.
Yeah, we all think that. Yeah.
Well, were there any other surprises on the album?
Not really surprises. Kind of pleasant surprises. We worked with a couple of outside writers, Nibs from Saxon. Co-wrote one of the things with us, and that was fun. We had worked with Nigel, the drummer, on the last record. He had played on a couple tracks. They're just super nice guys, really cool guys. So Nibs was a very pleasant surprise. And then my friend Jim Peterick wrote a song for us. I asked him, I said, just go for it. And he came up with a really cool song. So those were kind of pleasant surprises, you know, to have a few outside things like that.
I didn't realize you knew Jim. He's a great guy. I like him a lot.
He sang, it's funny, his publishing company is called The Search Is Over. And he sang that song for me at my wedding in Chicago. He acoustic guitar, and I teased him when he came in. He pulled this, I think it was a Guild or Gibson 12-string. And I said, have fun with that. And he, because it's picking. And he's, you know, I was like, yeah, okay, we'll have fun with that, Jim. So there I am standing there about to get married, and I'm worried about Jim getting through the song and he played the shit out of it, but he didn't have any trouble with it. But he goes, yeah, well, the action's not really what I want it to be, but you know, instead of thinking about my wedding, I'm worried about the action on his 12-string.
Did the purple hair clash with the tux or anything?
Well, he wasn't wearing that then, or he didn't have his hair dyed purple then. He was it was stock.
Okay, stock hair. Okay.
Yeah, stock, yeah.
So I'll ask each of you, which song would you, if somebody comes up to you, a fan who hasn't heard the album yet, hasn't even heard the single, and you were saying, all right, I'm going to tell you to watch out for a song, that'll be the calling card for the entire album. Doogie, which one would you pick as the calling card for the album?
It's a very, very difficult choice, because there's so many very strong songs on there. I thought the record company made the correct choice in putting "Don't Get Mad, Get Even" out there to entice people, because it's such an accessible song. But then, you know, we've got "Salute the Colours," which is another great tune, and then "Bring On the Rock," which closes the album, which is another sort of anthemic thing. You know, there's only one song in the album that I'm not really very pleased with, and but it doesn't seem to bother anybody else, so I'm just going to keep that to myself.
Okay. Joe, how about you? And I got a tag-on question I want to ask you before I go over to Jimmy. So, Joe, which song would you point to as a calling card?
Well, it's hard to say, because the records are kind of, you know, even though everything's in the same vein. It's the music on the record's fairly diverse because you got Salute the Colors is like more of a heavier thing. Almost reminds me of that Tracy Dio period, like Strange Highways. You know what I mean? And it's funny, like Jimmy, when I wrote that tune with Jimmy had like, I think he had the chorus. And he's like, all right, well, I need like a bunch of stuff. And then I need like, the rest of the song. Can you swing it? And then I'm like, yeah, just, and then I kept coming up with all these riffs off the top of my head. And I'm like, all right, well, let's keep that one and then record it. So I wrote the tune like as we were recording it on the spot. It was kind of funny. And he was over my place, and like on Sundays we were drinking like gin martini, so I was like a little hungover, you know what I mean? And we were going to track for a few hours, so luckily it shook out. But I'd say for me that the one that I like Bring on the Rock if I had to pick one. Because it's got it's got a killer melody, and that anthemic thing is awesome. The Doogie's melody and lyrics to that tune are great, and it's like your prototypical fast double bass thing, and it's got a nice keyboard section by Jimmy. It's got, of course, all that all that neoclassical shredding that early Alcatraz is kind of known for. So it's got that element in it, and virtuosic playing and all that. So that would be one if I had to pick one. That would probably be it.
Okay. So the tag-on question, totally unrelated for you, Joe, is which guitar do you figure is, or in your mind, is the Holy Grail, and do you own it?
Holy Grail. I mean, to me, guitars are I have quite a few guitars. I got like 60 something guitars, and I'm a Strat guy. I have an endorsement with ESP. I've been with them for like 20 years, and I'm lucky enough they built me a whole bunch of different custom shop ESP Strats. But I have a bunch of Fenders from the 70s and stuff. So one of my favorite guitars is I have a 72, which is identical to the one that Blackmore used to play during the burn era of Deep Purple, like the Cal Jam guitar, and then he played that in the early period of Rainbow. So if my house was on fire and I had to rescue one guitar,
that would be
that luckily that's never going to happen. Knock on wood. Hold on. But that might be the one. Is it the Holy Grail? I mean, it's great. It's great sounding for that kind of Blackmore induced playing. You know what I mean? But I have others that are more of like a shred machine.
Gotcha.
But I maybe have like between. I probably have. If I had to narrow it down, I could probably pick my favorite dozen guitars out of the guitars I have.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Jimmy, how about you? The calling card from the album.
Well, I think Little Vipers, personally, one of the strongest songs on the record. I love that song. I just, the first time I heard the melody and lyric to that, I mean, I loved the music. And then when Doogie wrote over it, I just thought, that's cool. I just love that Little Viper vibe. But like everybody else, there's about 3 other songs on there that are, to me, it's like take your pick kind of thing. Well, any song on the record, they're all good songs. And I'll go with Doogie on there. There's one maybe that I won't mention that wouldn't be my favorite. I don't dislike it. It's just not my favorite. But anyway, no, I think Battle Lines, which is a current video, is great. And I really like the Jim Peterick song, which is Gates of Destiny. It's not as heavy as some of the other songs, but it's just a great, well-written song, and the lyrics are really cool.
And we also have album tracks in there as well. I mean, we've got a song called "Strangers," which is such a beautiful song, and then gets really dark and sinister. And what Jimmy's done. Because I thought, when it goes into the second section of the song, I thought, this is awfully long to go into this. But then, of course, Jimmy brings out this Moog solo that I still hear every night when I go to my bed. I can just hear this, and the sound of it, and the feel of it, and the notes that he's playing are just in there, and it really builds it into the second part of the song, which I find really exciting. And as Jimmy said, there's nothing on there. I mean, Power in Numbers is a great tune as well. I mean, it really is. We don't, out of the 12 songs, I'm sure we'll all have one where we'll go, but you have to make a decision of songs that are going to sit together and that are going to work together. I mean, we've got 3 in the bag from this album and 3 in the bag for the next album. So we don't really need to do much for the next record either, because they're all great songs. They're all very well recorded, but they just didn't sit comfortably in this new album called Take No Prisoners. Thanks, Joe.
Joe and I had a lot of fun cutting guitars at his house. Like he mentioned, we never let the recording get in the way of Joe's a fantastic cook. I mean, you put him in a kitchen and the guy can whip up amazing dishes out of it. You look in the fridge and you go, how are you going to get a dinner out of what's in the fridge? And he does. He's got just a great feel for that. And he's a great mixologist. But we try not to let the music get in the way of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes if we spend too much time, we don't get to eat as much or drink as much. And Boston's got a surprisingly good selection. There's a great grocery store there where we can get anything. So you get great beer, great wine. And Joe's got a craft beer store up in New Hampshire. So anyway, we have a lot of fun when we're making the record.
I used to love going up to the Orr House in Portsmouth whenever I'd go into Boston for business. I'd drive up there for dinner. So fun place. If it's still there, if it's still open, if you guys haven't been there, I recommend it. So
yeah, I don't know. Usually we don't have enough time to go spend going out to dinner, spend a lot of time. But and he cooks great, so it's kind of like leftovers at Joe's or like main courses at most people's houses. So we're pretty content just to do our thing right there. Cool. And like I said, if we have time, we do some recording. we try to get to that, but that's sort of where the Joe's Deli thing comes from. Is Joe? That's not like something that Joe went, hey, let's throw some sandwiches together and call it Joe's Deli. I mean, he's the real deal. He can put together as good an Italian sub as there is. He knows what to do. He knows the ingredients and everything, the bread, everything.
Very cool. So what's the feedback you're getting from your friends who've been able to hear the album so far? I mean, I've heard a couple of tracks, but I haven't heard the whole album yet. So what are your friends telling you and those who've got to hear the whole thing?
Well, my friends personally are thrilled. They're surprised in a good way in that they thought the last record was great. And I guess, I don't know, skeptical is the right word, but they were just wondering, like, gosh, can these guys do this again? And they all unanimously say, well, this one's even better than the last one. And they love the way it sounds and the songs a lot. So I'm getting a great feedback from all my people. I threaten them. I tell them if they don't, but no, everybody seems to love it. So, yeah.
How about you, Joe? What's your friends saying?
Everyone thinks the record's really strong. Tunes are good. Playing's good. Sonically, record sounds really nice. So it's all been quite positive.
Good deal. Doogie, what do you hear?
I don't have any friends.
Not even in the band?
No. Well, I know what they think about it.
Okay. What's on the band's radar for the next year or so? Say next year, next 5 years. What do you guys have on your planning board?
Well, interestingly, the album was brought forward. So that's why we toured in the UK earlier on, because that was planned. And the album was supposed to come out in September. And so we're booked in, hopefully, some touring dates. I'm not allowed, they're embargoed at the moment. We're not allowed to say where that is. But the record company liked the album so much, they brought it forward from September to May.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where we're kind of sitting with that just now. So as far as the touring goes, I've been told not to tell anybody in case they turn up.
Okay. Don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Well, we'll be touring.
Well, yay.
Yeah, we'll be out there doing it. We always have been, and we will.
And I assume some of it will be in the States, right?
That's on the calendar. I'm hoping. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to play the States.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
Well,
Oh,
I guess you weren't supposed to say that, but
No, I.
Well, in
He's
that
the
theoretical,
boss. He can say what he likes.
I mean,
on that theoretical tour that might come to the States, I hope you guys come near East Tennessee somewhere, or somewhere within 3 or 4 hour driving distance, so I can come see you guys and
that'd be great.
do the meet and greet and bump elbows with you if you guys aren't hermetically sealed like some of the bands are doing right now still.
No, not us. I think it's the other way around. We're kind of out and about. Like, come on, COVID, come at us. No hermetically sealed people here. No.
Yeah, I have a strong immune system, so and I got when we came back from the UK, at the end of 2021, I ended up getting it anyway, for me it was no big deal. I didn't get all. I wasn't laid up. I mean, in fact, I wrote a good portion of Take No Prisoners, because I was just locked up just playing guitar during that time period. And I would go away after the holidays and go on vacation, but couldn't go anywhere because that's when all the airline, when COVID kind of ramped back up and all the airlines were like, the flight schedules were really dodgy and everything. So I had to stay put. So I wrote the music that don't get bad, get even, Bring on the Rock, Little Viper. I wrote a good portion of the tunes I wrote during the record, like when I had COVID.
Very good, very good. I know for me, I felt like the weakest cold I ever had, and I didn't even know it until I tested positive, and by then it was almost over. So I wish everybody had gotten it that way. I had friends who passed from it and such. So it's it's a very serious thing.
It hits a lot of people differently.
Yeah,
I actually knew I had it because I was in the I had gotten home on Friday. I had a show. I played on Saturday with one, and then I was in the kitchen cooking on Sunday. I was making a marinara, and I chopped up the onions and put the garlic in the olive oil, and then realized I couldn't smell anything. So and that was it. That was it. I stopped cooking. I was like, well, and then my sense of taste was dulled for like a few days, but then it kind of came back, and then a couple of weeks, my smell came back.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you all are well now. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the album, and on that tour that's never going to happen here in the States. I hope to see you guys on that tour here, and maybe I can sneak backstage and say hi to you or something.
Absolutely. Backstage. Yeah.
Or wherever you are.
Yeah.
Back at the van or whatever. So
Right. That sounds appropriate. Yeah.
Okay.
Come on out of the van before we leave. Yeah.
There you go. So, well, hey, thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Let's do this again when the next album comes out or when the tour happens. And you're always welcome here. And please stay safe. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere down the road.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.